Hello, public opinion aficionados, and welcome to Rasmussen Reports, the right-wing pouring company that uses Kool-Aid drinking monkeys on telephones, whatever. We're accurate, but what we're most importantly is unbiased, and also, we don't sugarcoat. And so there's a lot of important stuff to talk about. I feel like I say that every day, that there's just like incredible history being made day by day. And today it looks like we declared economic war on China. That's what it looks like. But what we're going to explore is the depths of resolve of the American public, where they stand on this, because a lot of people are breaking ranks. A lot of the elite, a lot of the billionaires, a lot of the politicians, the rhinos, the establishment types are breaking ranks over the chaos. And they're starting to look like clowns because I think the numbers will show the Americans are in for this. Americans have been begging for this for a very long time. So we're going to cover numbers that explore that. We're going to talk about, let's be real, this has drawn blood. This has drawn first blood on Donald Trump's numbers. And is it consequential? I don't know. I'll give you the context and you can be the judge of that. Here's the financial situation. Interesting. It's not Black Monday. April 7th was Monday and the market finished up. So it's not Black Monday. The psychological operation that we went into in great detail on Monday Night Show, we went into it about how Jim Cramer came out with a throwaway quote in the middle of a Wednesday show, and all of the mainstream media outlets saved it up for Sunday, dumped it in America's lap, attempting to tank the market. I think attempting to derail Trump. And what happened? Now here we are. What is this? 12% higher. 12% higher than we were on Monday morning. That's actually the opposite of Black Monday. If you look at it, the one day number, I like the trading today was off the charts, but something major happened. Something very major happened. And what it didn't do was it didn't happen in the Chinese composite, the Shanghai composite or the Hang Seng. They fell off a cliff last week and they have not recovered. None of this post tariff bounce. You know, we'll see what happens. But this is it. This is Black Monday here on Google Trends. Came and went, a flash in the pan. Just a complete false start, dead in the water, ineffective psychological operations. The mainstream media, gained momentum, gained momentum. Bam! Sunday morning news cycle. Every single article out there across every outlet. And then here's the bell. Market opens, boom. Nobody cares anymore. Nope, not a crash. And so maybe there'll be another spike next Monday. Maybe they'll try this whole thing again, but I don't know. To be honest, I think the market has mostly been pegged to the increasing number of dollars due to our rapidly spiraling debt situation, our increasing total public debt. As we borrow and spend more money, there's more money out there, and it goes into risk-seeking assets. That's it. And so we'll see. I do think markets are overvalued. I do think Trump is trying to bring this thing down. As we talked about, Ed Dowd said, I think the next shoe to drop is potentially a housing crisis. It's starting to look ugly down in Washington, D.C. Apparently, inventory is starting to pile up. Maybe they'll be the ones that top the case Shiller, turn everything going down. Because as of yesterday, I looked, the 10-year by which mortgage prices are pegged to, has been soaring because it's risk off for treasuries. And maybe it's because China is dumping them. But let's talk about where Trump is. First blood. This is this is where really the first time where the numbers don't look great. 47% approve, 52% disapprove. Not bad, like not horrible. Joe Biden left at 43%, spent most of his term. I forget what his average is. Pretty sure it's in between 42 and 43, the average of his entire term. So Trump is 5 points higher than that. But this is the lowest that Trump's been since he's been in office. And, it's higher than most of his first term for sure as well, but he finished out the last 2 years. People were happy the last 2 years of Trump up until the virus, which people think was intentionally leaked. Maybe we'll look at that too. I have new numbers that haven't been released yet. Maybe we'll take a preview look at that. So he's net -5. And what I can tell you is that last night's overnight wasn't that bad. So maybe this represents the local nadir of where his numbers are going to get to, and maybe he'll turn back up. But if you want to know who moved the most, it's Republicans. And I actually looked, it wasn't the boomer Republicans. We talked about that a little bit on Monday, but it's actually the younger ones who still approve most of Trump and still think the country is headed in the right direction, but not as much, right? They've abated a little bit. Their strong approve has gone down. And where we're at right now is Donald Trump among Republican voters has a 53% strong approval rating. That's down from a high of I think 65. And that'll come back up probably 75% total approve. I think the highest was 83. And so down 70% right track still among GOP voters, 42% overall. That 42% is down from a 48% high. It was about 45% for the last 2 weeks. And so again, 42% is lower, but it's higher than 95% of all of our readings in 19 years. And it's like 12 points higher than the average of Joe Biden's term because the country was not headed in the right direction under Joe Biden, according to voters. And the independent numbers are looking a little bit worse than they've been. They've been like -3, -4. Here we're at with a -8. So, he's lost some support among men. And, the race numbers really haven't changed much. He lost a lot among Hispanic and other race voters. They were up to almost 60%. So, where does that look like compared to the rest of the industry? And believe it or not, this -5 puts us on the left side of the Real Clear Politics aggregate now. They have Donald Trump underwater 3.4. We're at -5. There's some low ones here. Reuters Ipsos. I think this is new. This -10 is like pretty new that he's been down that much in their polling. But this really bad -12 Quinnipiac, they had him down at -11 a month ago. And so I would say, look, like Harris X is the exact same as us. Economist usually is a point or two to the left of us, maybe three. They're at -7. I don't know what this Daily Mail is, this LLR poll. And RMG has them at +4. I think they had them at +10. So some people are moving left, but in the grand scheme of things, it isn't that much leftward movement. Like this is a steady decline in the honeymoon. And again, there's always a Trump approval sandbag in the Real Clear Politics numbers. You can look at it here. Uh, he came in better than he did in 2017, according to the rest of the industry. In our numbers, it's kind of about the same, to be honest with you. And what it comes down to is, does he get that August of 2017 dump into the high 30s? He did that in August of 27 and still pulled it out in what can objectively be said to have been a lower energy administration. And so, listen, it comes down to this. I don't think Donald Trump should be watching his approval rating. It's gone down a little bit. It's probably going to go back up. I don't think it's going to derail his agenda one iota because, as we've talked about, his agenda is more popular than he is. And that's his mandate. Every single one of the things you can ask on. And we're going to look at tariffs because tariffs are a pretty tricky situation. They're a really hard one to understand the implications of what Americans think. But right now, it's like this is not horrible. This is not horrible. I mean, like this Quinnipiac -12, you might as well discount it. It's not a real thing. Reuters Ipsos -10. Mm, I think my -5. This might be a low point because I'm used to Reuters Ipsos being 7 or 8 points left of me, not 5. So it just feels like I don't know. Feels like it's coming back. So let's go to this. The Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal. Poll shows majority think that Trump tariffs will hurt the US economy. Interesting headline. Let's get into it. Just minutes after President Trump announced a 90-day suspension on many of his tariffs, polling data was released that showed his tariff actions weren't popular, almost like they were saving it up. This is Quinnipiac. This is the Donald Trump -12 net approval rating pollster. Isn't that fascinating? These are the same guys that dumped that -11 poll with the polling about how Republicans would be blamed for the debt shutdown on exactly the day that Chuck Schumer would need it, almost as if it had been coordinated. I'm not accusing them of anything, almost as if it had been coordinated. But unfortunately, Chuck Schumer folded before they even got to, get all the runway out of their polling. But it shows that a vast majority of voters think his tariffs will hurt the US economy in the short term, while a smaller majority think they will hurt it in the long term. In the short term, 72% of voters think it will hurt the economy, while 22% think it'll help. The survey shows in the long term, 53% of voters think that tariffs will hurt the US economy, while 41% think it'll help. Now, notice that's a 12-point margin, 53% to 41%. It's almost exactly along Trump voter lines. And as we know, they're negative 12, probably, 5 or 6 points left to me. And so that makes it like almost, I don't know. It's a lot closer than that. And, that's the one they're out there cherry picking. But here's the deal about tariff polling. We're going to get into tariffs and explain how challenging it is because I can literally get whatever result I want. I think we put this up a week or two ago, but it's more relevant now. And we have new polling that we're going to get into, including fresh numbers nobody's seen yet. Do you think tariffs on foreign goods imported into the US should be increased, decreased, or kept the same? And this is the straightest I could ask this. I put absolutely nothing in here. Somebody that's a little bit more disingenuous would say, how likely is it that tariffs will make prices increased for consumers in the US? Well, that's one side of it, but the other side is like, how likely is it that will make American trade more competitive or drive jobs back to the US? It's really hard to write a question and just keep the exact amount of information in there that's needed. But as you can see here, 31% say increase, 33% say decrease, 26% kept about the same, 10% not sure. They don't know. They have no idea. This is no signal whatsoever. Democrats say decrease the tariffs, and we like don't even charge any. 42% to 20. This was back from the beginning of March. Like I don't think we had put anything on yet. And they just know that tariff equal orange man equal bad. Republicans, 52% say increase, 18% say decrease. Not resounding, but again, this is just a plain vanilla question. And then would increasing tariffs on imports be good or bad for the US economy? 30% say good, 48% say bad. And 66% of Democrats that say good, 51% say bad, 51% of Republicans say good. But again, this is like asking people, "Do you like taxes?" They just don't understand. This is a non-signal, but I think it was a really good benchmark because what we just came out with today is brand new polling that shows that even though, in my opinion, voters don't understand tariffs, and I've seen polling that shows that people overwhelmingly favor them and overwhelmingly do not, like the Quinnipiac polling, that what voters do like is the underlying ideals behind why Trump is launching this program of tariffs. Does the government do too much to protect US manufacturers and businesses from foreign competition or not enough? And note the dates April 2nd through April 6th. This is all after Liberation Day. And only 17% of US likely voters say too much, 45% say not enough. If you do the math there, that's what is that? That's more than 2x, but less than 3x. It's a little bit more than 2.5x. So voters are 2.5 times more likely to say not enough than too much, although 25% say about right. 25, 32, 42, 42 to 45. So more voters say not enough than too much or about right by a few points. And what's interesting is this signal of 18 to 39-year-olds, these people that are most unemployed, that are having a hard time getting jobs, that would be the people at the manufacturing plants that will ostensibly be built because of this program of tariffs. And even Republicans say not enough, or Democrats, sorry, 35% to 19%. 58% of Republicans say not enough, only 13% say too much. So it's the plurality response for everybody that the government doesn't do enough. Majority for Republicans, 58%. But check this out. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? If we do not protect our nation's manufacturers, we lose a fundamental part of who we are as a people. Making things, building things, working with our hands is America's heritage. Now, this is like nails on chalkboard for an elite MBA globalist, media owner, mainstream media owner, business owner, billionaire. They want the jobs to go overseas. They want the Chinification of our manufacturing sector. It gives them more power. It concentrates more wealth in their hands, gives them more bargaining power. They're now you're like talking about international shipping lanes and massive negotiating power with your suppliers and not having to deal with unions. All these things that just poof go away when you just make slave labor on the other side of the earth. Slave labor is great. Like why wouldn't you use it? Why wouldn't you send all the jobs overseas and then make ourselves a service economy that some people just can't compete in? And there's not enough low paying jobs. And oh, by the way, they went to illegals. That was the plan. And Americans don't like it because 73%, at least some would agree with that statement, 41% strongly, only 6% strongly disagree. Massive, massive bipartisan support. 74% of 18 to 39-year-olds, 78% of the boomers, pretty much everybody agrees. Black, white, Hispanic, Democrats, 2/3 of Democrats, 67%, but only 27% strongly agree. I really don't get that. I didn't say Trump. I didn't say, I didn't say whose quote this is. It's JD Vance's quote. Like, that's fascinating. This is maybe the standout number to me. Only 27% of Democrats. It's almost like they don't like Made in America. They 40% somewhat agree, 27% when 61% of Republicans strongly agree with that statement. What a stark contrast. And the independents are kind of not that high either. 69% total, but only 37% strongly agree. Maybe this is just too Americana. I don't know. Like, leave your comments about what you think it is. Also, while you're there, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Try to help support us because this stuff all gets fed into the YouTube algorithm. You can get more people watching YouTube. We had a really great crowd Monday night. We had almost 500 concurrents on YouTube. It was awesome. Awesome time, lots of comments, a lot of fun had by all, especially on the days like this, man, when it all just comes crashing down. Like this is a cataclysmal day. Like I don't know where it's going to go from here. But here's what I have is new numbers on tariffs. And you're going to like these because it's the unique Rasmussen touch that you're not going to get from a CNN pollster. Heck, you're not even going to get from a traditional Republican pollster. This irreverence for the status quo and the establishment that we have because we're independent public opinion officials that want voters to get more of what they want. And perennially, voters have been getting screwed. So let me qualify these. They are 2 out of 3 nights. These are from April 7th and April 8th. And I processed them this morning. We don't have full crosstabs. This is about 750 or 800 results. It's probably got a margin of error of about 4%. So directionally correct. The numbers might change a little bit when they come back tomorrow. And these are all unreleased. We haven't written them up as stories yet. Some of this stuff is coming out this week, but some of it might come out next week. I don't know. But here we go. All of this is coming from after the supposed Black Monday event that we were going to have. This is all voters that were subjected to the mainstream media psychological operation, the Jim Cramer effect here. But do you approve or disapprove of President Trump's tariff policy? Not raise or lower, not, will it hurt the economy or help the economy? Do you have Trump's back? And the answer is 43% yes, approve, 26% strongly, 53% disapprove. So Trump's underwater 10. And that's because Democrats are just like flipping out. The idea that we would embarrass ourselves on the world stage to all these people that worship other countries, they worship the European socialists and despise America, some of them, like the deep fundamental core of them. I think there's an aspect of that. But 18 to 39-year-olds are, a little bit more in favor than everybody else. 44% approve, 51% disapprove, so a few points more narrower than all likely voters. But look at Republicans, 70% approve. Republicans have Donald Trump's back here, 47% strongly approve. The highest vote of confidence, no. But I'm also asking at the absolute worst time, where everybody's out there trying to paint Donald Trump as chaotic, talking about what he's doing to destroy the markets. But this is the thing I wanted to show. how likely is it that President Trump's tariff policy will cause a major recession? And 64% say likely, but only 52% disapprove of his tariff policy. So a lot of people are like, yeah, it's going to cause a recession, but I still like it. I still want it. It's still okay with me. And even 48% of Republican voters think it's going to cause a recession, but 70% of them like the tariff policy. So when you see a headline that's like, oh, people think that the tariffs will cause a recession, like, yeah, my numbers support that too. The same amount as Quinnipiac, no, but it's baked in. Like a lot of people knew that this was coming. And what they picked was probably the most offensive and egregious number set to drive the worst headline for Donald Trump. And I think it's important here. Like, I'm not sugarcoating this. A majority of people disapprove of his tariff policy. Pretty decent majority, 52% to 43%. But Republicans love it. In my opinion, that's the headline. But which is more important, keeping a strong stock market for investors or creating more jobs for American workers? And this was a topic of conversation Monday. The stock market is not the economy, as I showed in great detail looking at all of the questions that we asked. But we just came out and asked it directly, which is more important. And only 20% of US likely voters say that it's the stock market, and 63% say creating more jobs for American workers. It's always been about jobs. Complete bipartisan support. The number of creating more jobs was above 50 for everybody. Stock market was below 25 for everybody by party. In general, considering the way things are going with Donald Trump as president, which is closer to your feeling, yes, this is what I voted for, or no, this is not what I voted for. And it's kind of the same as that Twitter poll I showed that showed that 85% of my followers said, yeah, this is what I voted for. Well, in this polling, 79% of Trump supporters said, yes, this is what I voted for. Only 16% said no, but guess what? More than 16% of Harris voters said yes. So, whatever. 44% overall of US likely voters say this is what I voted for. 50% say no. Tempest in a teapot. I think this is just the eggs that get broken on the way to making the omelet. And speaking about broken eggs, the House we talked about this. 7 Republican senators joined with Democrats to create a resolution to prevent Trump from messing with tariffs. And good job, House Republicans. Good job, you blocked it. Not going anywhere. So thanks, Chuck Grassley. Thanks for showing us who you were. Standing in the way of reordering the economy to help the American worker and not the billionaires. Good job, House.
If you've learned something, please follow us at RasmussenReports.com, Rasmussen_poll at Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Mark_R_Mitchell at Twitter. And thanks for watching.